Well, hello everyone. I'm David Sedlak, a professor in the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering. Next slide, Robbie. There we go. And I'm also if you go back one, I'm also the vice chair of graduate studies here at Berkeley. Um, so that's my role here in introducing this, and I'll be joined by my colleagues on the line here to give you an orientation to the Berkeley graduate program, specifically the master's program. Thank you very much for joining us. This webinar is being recorded, so in case you want to share this with anyone you know who missed the opportunity to join us, that's possible. And we'll also be sending everyone who registered for the webinar slides, and the slides will have links to various places you can go to learn more information. Next slide. So again, you can see on the left-hand side up here the names of the other UC Berkeley folks who will be joining me in the webinar, and you'll be hearing from them in a few minutes. I'm going to lead off the agenda by giving you an overview of our research programs. And within that, I'll also tell you a little something about kind of what the different programs are that you'll need to apply to. That is, you're going to have to choose a specific program within the department to apply to. I'll tell you a little also about the length of the program, and then I'll be kicking it over to Jessica to talk a little about career paths. You'll hear in this webinar about more about the Bay Area, student clubs and campus life. You'll hear about various ways to pay for your graduate education. So you'll hear about the cost of our program as well as our financial aid programs and fellowships and employment. We'll have a slide talking about the application process, specifically the deadlines that you have to meet to have your application considered. And then I'll come back at the end and we'll have time for questions and answers. So again, if you have questions during the presentation, please type them into the Q&A section of the browser or of the Zoom screen, and we'll try to get to them and either by typing in answers during the presentation or answering them at the end. Next slide. So for those of you who are not familiar with UC Berkeley, I just wanted to say a few things about maybe why you'd be interested in looking at UC Berkeley and to establish the idea that the university is very well regarded around the world. So as you can see here, the College of Engineering at UC Berkeley is rated by US News and World Report as the #1 public institution in the United States. And overall, we're seen as one of the top universities in the world, not just by the US News and World Report, but by lots of different types of peer organizations that evaluate universities as well as employers and others. And then the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering specifically is ranked #1 for civil engineering programs in the US and #1 for environmental engineering programs in the US. I think that's both at the graduate and the undergraduate level. So certainly the university has a long and storied history and is also still quite well regarded by people who know about the field. Next slide. Also, for those of you who don't know about where UC Berkeley is located or anything about the San Francisco Bay Area, we are across the water from San Francisco. So you can see a photograph here showing the Campanile or bell tower at the UC Berkeley campus, and across that bridge, which is the San Francisco Bay Bridge, you can see the city of San Francisco. So we're in an area that's referred to as the Bay Area or sometimes the San Francisco Bay Area. And this is really an exciting place to live in the United States. It's a place that is really the home of lots of different research and technology and other types of activities that would be interesting to someone who's looking to start a career in engineering. But beyond that, the city of Berkeley and the UC Berkeley campus is very well known because we have been at the forefront of various cultural and social movements, as well as at the forefront of lots of scientific discoveries and advances in technology. So any of you who watched the movie Oppenheimer this summer, for example, saw scenery of UC Berkeley because the movie starts there when Oppenheimer is a Berkeley professor with Lawrence, and that's coincidentally who they named the Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory after. So we're close to San Francisco. We're also on the same side of the bay as Oakland, which is an exciting and interesting city. And we're also in the northern part of California, which, if you've never been to this part of the country, is a really amazing place in terms of outdoor activities. We're within about an hour of some of the nicest national parks on the ocean, and about 3 hours from Yosemite National Park and the Sierra Nevada mountains. So it's a wonderful place to live and to be a student. Next slide. These are some images just showing you a little bit about our building. So we're not just in one building, we're in several buildings on the campus. And again, UC Berkeley is a campus in a small city. So we're not a densely populated area like New York City or downtown Chicago or even downtown San Francisco. Berkeley is a modest-sized city with buildings that are anywhere from 1 to 5 stories high. Although now we have some towers that are 10 or 15 feet high, stories high. And our campus, our department, is scattered through 3 or 4 buildings on the engineering part of campus. And you can see the largest picture in this slide is the structural testing bay, where a lot of our earthquake engineering work happens. But you can also see the various buildings where the classrooms and faculty members are. And that picture on the bottom is a picture from Lawrence Berkeley National Lab, which is just a few minutes up the hill behind our campus, where some of our students conduct research. Next slide, please. Today, we're talking to you about the master's degree, and what it's technically called is the Master's of Science degree in Civil and Environmental Engineering. So when you walk through a graduation, you receive an MS degree in Civil and Environmental Engineering, irrespective of the specialization that you've chosen within Civil and Environmental Engineering. We're not going to talk about some of the other programs today, but there are web links to them that you'll get in the handouts when they arrive in your email account. For example, there is a Master's of Engineering, which is administered through our department and something called the Fung Institute. You can learn about that. That's for people who are a little bit more inclined towards the business end of civil and environmental engineering. And then there are 3 dual degree programs with city and regional planning, public policy, and architecture. These programs are, as they sound, dual degrees. So you apply to our program and you also apply to another partner program elsewhere on the campus, and you have to be accepted into both of those programs. So if you're curious about this, you can certainly click on these links when you get the handout after the webinar today. And finally, the Doctorate of Philosophy, or the PhD degree, which many students pursue after receiving the MS degree. So some people are admitted directly into the PhD program, or some people arrive at Berkeley already having a master's degree and go directly into the PhD program. But some of you may decide after finishing your MS degree to continue on for a PhD. And that's a perfectly reasonable path, and many of our PhD students do that. If you want to learn more about the PhD program, again, there's a link here that tells you a little about it, and we encourage you to talk to prospective faculty members who might serve as your research mentor. Next slide. So almost everyone who follows the MS degree in the Civil and Environmental Engineering program follows the path shown at the top here. That is, most students, about more than 90% of our students, are able to complete the MS degree in 2 semesters, and those 2 semesters consist almost entirely of coursework. So this is a program where if you have an undergraduate degree in civil and environmental engineering or a closely related field, you can go right into the graduate program and start taking graduate courses. Typically, students take 4 classes per semester. We're on the semester system, not the quarter system. And in 2 semesters, they have enough credits to receive the MS degree. And so you can see the path here. Basically, we have courses that we call core classes. We also have elective classes. Those elective classes are in our department, or they're in other departments on campus. So students will take courses in other engineering departments, or even in various science and social science departments around campus. And then in a second semester, they'll continue to take courses. Most of our students at the end of the 2 semesters take a comprehensive exam. That's a university requirement to receive the master's degree. It's usually an exam of several hours, and upon passing that exam, they're qualified for the master's degree. Some of the programs have a capstone project in lieu of an exam, and once the student completes the capstone project, they complete the degree. But we have a very high retention rate in the program, so people who start the program tend to finish the program, and these exams are something that's required by the university, but they're not something that is a huge struggle to students who succeed in our courses. There is an option at UC Berkeley for a master's degree with an optional thesis. The optional thesis usually requires a 3rd semester, because in addition to taking coursework, you need to be completing an independent research project, working in collaboration with a faculty member and a thesis committee that evaluates your thesis exam. And again, you don't have to choose upon application which program you want to be part of, the coursework masters or the thesis masters, but recognize that if you're interested in a master's thesis as opposed to the 2-semester coursework masters, you probably want to be talking to faculty members in advance to make sure that there's a research project for you. Next slide, please. So you may not realize this, especially if you were a civil engineering student and you were taking a breadth of different civil engineering classes, but when you go to graduate school, you need to specialize in one of a handful of subdisciplines within civil and environmental engineering. And any school that you might look at for a master's degree will organize this slightly differently. Berkeley has a range of choices for you, and I want to just review quickly the different programs you might apply to. But when you open up that application, it's going to ask you to indicate which of the programs you hope to be admitted to, and you can only choose one. So again, you need to think about this in advance. I'm going to run it through this quickly, but you can see the link at the bottom. You can learn more about these programs, or you can send email to the admissions officer for the different programs to learn more. So the first one I wanted to mention is the Energy, Civil Infrastructure, and Climate Program. Sometimes we refer to it as ECIC. That just rolls off the tongue a little faster. And ECIC is, as it says here, at the intersection of energy, infrastructure, and climate science. So it's kind of a hybrid degree where you learn about how infrastructure is affected by climate change, and how we're going to build different types of infrastructure, either as part of climate change mitigation or adaptation. So you can see here some of the areas of study and research, and a few of the highlights here. I think the key takeaway is that this is a degree which would be very appropriate for someone who wants to think about the way in which civil infrastructure is going to have to be adapted in the coming decades to adjust to the effects of climate change. Next slide. The Engineering and Project Management Program, EPM, sometimes it's referred to, and I'll talk about the new construction program, which is a later slide because these are alphabetical, but this is a program based on that's appropriate for people who are interested in project management. So you can see under the bullet points here some of the areas of study, some of the places where you might take coursework. But if you're interested in construction and how to make construction more efficient, and if you want to be involved in civil engineering projects that involve construction and construction management, this is the program for you. This program has a lot of hands-on practical experience, a lot of industry experts coming into classes, and a lot of practical case studies for students to learn about. Next slide, please. The environmental engineering program is what it sounds like. It's environmental engineering, and we normally think about it as three different areas. So there's one track related to air quality, thinking about air pollution primarily and pollutant exposure. There's environmental fluid mechanics and hydrology. So this covers the movement of water through the surface and subsurface, and how it interacts with the land. And then water quality, thinking about things like fate and transport of contaminants, drinking water and wastewater, and hazardous waste treatment. And again, you don't have to specify which of those three areas you're going to study. The application may ask you, but you can also indicate that you're interested in all of them. And the important thing is that if you're interested in this topic, you indicate environmental engineering in the application. Next slide. Geosystems, or in some places, maybe this is called geotechnical and geoenvironmental engineering. This is a study of how the land surface and the subsurface is related to infrastructure. So it's an area that's appropriate if you're interested in the effects of earthquakes and floods and hurricanes on infrastructure, and you can see some images there showing some of the students and what they do. Next slide. Structural engineering, mechanics, and materials. Sometimes people refer to this as SEMM, and it's just what it sounds like. It's structural design, structural analysis, structural mechanics, and structural materials, and it's kind of one of the key disciplines within civil engineering, and it's certainly central to the construction of materials and structures. But this is not as much about building buildings, but about how to design them and how to maintain them so that they're safe. Next slide. Systems. Systems is kind of a cross-cutting topic within the department. People who are interested in systems might be those who are interested in how one manages complex infrastructure systems. It has a strong element of computer modeling and the use of data from sensors and various other types of devices, and how one uses that to maintain and optimize and operate civil infrastructure. And that, again, I think I encourage you to read about it and see examples of the kinds of classes that systems students take to get an idea of what that means if you're unfamiliar with what one means when they say system science or systems thinking. Next slide. Transportation, or transportation engineering in some places, is obviously the engineering of various modes of moving around. So whether it's traffic theory and automobiles, or it's aviation, or it's rail, it's about how one designs infrastructure to move people primarily around cities, and it's got close connections to city and regional planning and other types of departments that think about the efficient movement of people in transportation networks. Next one. And finally, we have a master's program in construction systems. So this is different from the construction engineering program, and also different from the systems program. It's where students who are interested in construction will be applying this year for the master's program. It's a new program that's replacing the master's in construction. And it's again, it covers a lot of the same topics that I showed on that earlier slide for the construction program, but this new program is taking on some of the more modern aspects of data science and sensing to try to bring these new tools into the construction industry. So again, if you're interested in the construction industry and building things, this is the major you're going to want to apply to for the MS degree this year. Next slide. So I'm going to turn it over now to Jessica. Jessica Zong is a graduate student service advisor for the MS program, and she's really the key point of contact for many of our MS and MN students in terms of the degree and what comes after the degree. Turning over to you, Jessica.
All right. All right, thank you, David, for sharing the overview of the program. Hi, everyone. My name is Jessica Zhang. I'm the Graduate Student Services Advisor for our master's students. I provide advice and support to students regarding their degree progress, program requirements, institutional policies, as well as different events on campus. And my main goal here is to provide students with the resources and opportunity they need to achieve their academic and career goals. So our graduates with a master's degree in civil and environmental engineering find a wide range of employment opportunity in both private industry. Can you go to the next slide, please, Robbie? Yeah, thank you. In both private industry and public sectors, such as tech companies, consulting, designing and building, and transportation. And they can make significant impact on our society. And of course, if you are interested and passionate about teaching and conducting research, you may also want to explore the option of staying in academia by pursuing a PhD degree. I also always remind my students that their graduate experience should be very different from their undergraduate years. So during your undergraduate years, you invest a lot of time and energy into exploring, right? Figuring out what you really want to do in the future. And if you decide to pursue a master's degree or PhD degree, it often indicates that you have a clear and specific career goal already. If not, that's okay. That's why I'm here. My role is to connect students with resources, faculty advisors, and potential employers. For example, our graduate students will have the chance to participate in multiple CEE-specific career fairs throughout the academic year. They also get a chance to build relationships with industry experts in a relaxed and informal setting. So thanks to those monthly happy hour events hosted by various employers and our student leaders. Here's a list, and this list highlights the professional development and career support for our graduate students. As you can see here, our program is not only preparing you with the knowledge and skills, but also foster a supportive network to guide you toward a successful and fulfilling career path. All right, next slide. Next, we will have Nia Jones, our Director of Community Engagement Program, to share some details about our community building program, CEE Square. Yeah, it's all yours.
Thanks, Jessica. Hello, everyone. My name is Nia Jones, and as Jessica mentioned, I am the Director of Community Engagement Program, also called CEE Squared, which stands for Community Engaged Education in Civil and Environmental Engineering. Next slide, please. So the mission of our program is to serve as a resource for research and education, strengthen partnerships within our CEE network, and also build bridges that bring people together. The vision for this program is to become an example for integrated and equitable community engaged education and research within our department and across the country and within our College of Engineering. And it's important to highlight that this is the first community engagement center within the College of Engineering, and we're the only department that actually does intentional engagement with the local communities. Next slide. Our mission is to bring people to Berkeley and Berkeley to people. And what this means for you is that you'll have opportunities to take courses while in your master's with faculty that have partnerships with community-based organizations. And this could look like completing class projects that have that offer assistance to these community-based organizations to help advance their goals. There's also opportunities for you all to engage with the local communities through field trips. And a few photos here are showing a field trip that I planned around taking some high school students to Treasure Island, a construction site hosted by a community partner that we have in GEO. There's also some photos of another field trip where students came to Berkeley's campus and did a campus tour and actually heard from students in a panel discussion. And those are always fun to kind of just have an opportunity to give back. The other photos are engagement that I do in the Bay Area and beyond, with one photo at the top corner of me engaging with the students at McClymonds High School, which is a high school located in West Oakland. And also I extend the community out to other HBCUs and HSIs, which stands for Historically Black Colleges and Universities, and Hispanic Serving Institutions, and MSIs in general, which stands for Minority Serving Institutions. Here at Berkeley, we really want to make our climate very inclusive and also foster a sense of belonging for every student. So it's really important that we cast a wide net and make everyone feel like they're a part of the community, because that's the whole purpose of our program. And happy to answer any further questions that y'all may have on this program. Thank you so much. And I'm going to turn it over to James, a stellar current PhD student and also alum of the master's program.
Yeah, thanks so much, Nia. Yeah, hi everyone. I'm James, PhD student in the Structural Engineering and Mechanics and Materials department. I did my master's here in SEM, then went to go work for a year before coming back to get my PhD. Next slide. Thanks. Yeah, so just a little background for me. I grew up in New York City and I did my undergrad in the city as well. And I'd only really been to California for maybe 2 days before moving here. So I was a little bit worried about the move, but everything went pretty well. I found Berkeley to be a lot of fun and there was always something to do. I also really enjoyed the academic atmosphere here. I was very supported by the faculty and the rest of my cohort. My cohort was very open, friendly. We even went on a few trips together, like to Lake Tahoe and Napa Valley, which are all pretty close by. And every year there's always like sort of things to do, like an intramural sports team within the department or even the cohort. In my year, we had like sort of a volleyball team that played against different students. We also did a lot of homework together and we definitely helped each other out. It was like an atmosphere of collaboration. And a lot of us still keep in touch, even though a lot of people moved out to different cities, and we still talk and we still hang out whenever we get the chance to visit them. Next slide. Yeah, so a little bit about living in Berkeley. It is, I think this was already mentioned, it's in a small city, essentially. It's not a city like San Francisco, but it isn't exactly just a college town either. It's a little bit in between. It has its own unique, rich history that you can explore. The campus is really, really pretty, in my opinion. It's always nice to walk around. There are a lot of good restaurants that are very close by to campus. There's also an option of buying like sort of a meal plan so you can go to the dining halls around campus as well. The weather is great. It's amazing. As you can see, it's always between 50 to 75 degrees. Yeah, and also very low rainfall. And I think it's also a good idea to look into housing options before you move out here. It does take some time, but there are a lot of resources that you guys are accessible to everyone. And I think I mentioned here already, there are a lot of good places to go on trips with your cohort. Yeah, Sonoma is always a good option, and Oakland and San Francisco are very accessible via public transportation. Next slide. Right, so here are some of the engineering clubs and the community. So we have sort of the College of Engineering GSOs, which stands for Graduate Student Organizations above. And there are plenty of clubs for you to join. We also have clubs that are sort of within the CEE department. And I can sort of talk about the ones that I've been a part of or have been a member of. I think one thing to do is there's always plenty of opportunities to participate in these clubs, and just make sure you keep an eye out at the beginning of the academic year when everyone has sort of their general information meetings. And that's when they sort of talk about what they do, what the club is about, and any events that they might hold during the semester. So within CEE, I am a part of GSS, which is the Graduate Student Society, and that is a club where we have a monthly social hour where there's food and drinks for everyone, and then so that we can sort of promote and facilitate networking between the graduate students of different programs within the CE department. I'm also a part of Rapid CE, the last one right here, which is aimed at building a community for API grad students in the CE department, and also sort of to build relationships between international and domestic students as well. And next slide. Yeah, and yeah, I'll hand it off to Robbie, who is the Director of Student Services.
Thanks, James. And just a reminder for folks, we're coming up towards the end of the presentation in a few minutes. So if you have questions, you can put them in the questions and answers section. We're answering some of them live, but if we get an opportunity, we'll answer them right on this webinar as well. My name is Robbie Powers. I'm the Director of Student Services, and I support all aspects of the student experience that integrate both in and outside of the classroom. So I work with our academic advisors to make sure that the resources are available to students. We make sure events are happening, and we make sure your faculty have all the resources they need to be able to make sure they're giving an amazing academic experience to students. And I'm doing double duty by also managing the slides. Give me 1 second. There we go. So one of the major questions that folks always have when they're thinking about this is how they are going to plan financially for the next step in their educational career. Our programs are incredibly competitive, and as a public serving institution, I would say that you're going to look at these costs and see that our focus is really around California residents as our first and foremost. And so to that end, we have a different rate for California in-state residents and a different one for non-residents. And so the tuition price is the same. The fees that the campus imposes, which include things like bus passes, resources on campus, your library, student services fees to help fund all of those clubs, are the same. And where it starts to get different is there's a supplemental tuition exclusively for non-residents. And our department also requires a professional development fee, which helps with career fairs. It helps us bring in awesome, amazing industry speakers and host these types of events to connect folks into the career paths that they want. Health insurance is required in the program, but it can be waived if you already have a comparable healthcare plan. And so, as you can see, there's some the total per semester for a California resident and non-resident are listed, and then ideal for this program is that it is a 2-semester program. And so those should be the current rates. There might be some increases over time, very small, but at this stage, this is what the current rate is for the program. Now, that's not the whole package of funding for the funding your graduate program. Our program, for every student that applies, we consider you for over $2.5 million in fellowships that we provide to folks based on their academics and based on criteria of other fellowships that we may have that may bring in folks from different regions of the US or different regions of California. 40% of our admitted students are receiving some sort of aid. It can be as small as 1 semester of that 2-semester plan. It can be covering those professional development fees, right? But 20% of our students are pretty much getting the bulk of their residential fees covered. And so we really want to make sure that this educational program is accessible to folks. To that end, we review your entire application in a holistic manner, and we are looking at your personal statement. We are looking at your research. We're looking at your past success in academics. And that really helps us determine how we can use our fellowships and support to best fund graduate education here. There's no separate application for these awards. Every single student is automatically included in our review for these $2.5 million in student support. But beyond that, you may want to look at other ways to supplement your experience. More than 20% of our students are working while they're on campus in this master's program, and they're usually in one of these 3 roles. A graduate student researcher who actually helps and assists with faculty on their research. This is really ideal for students who are probably going to go on to the PhD either here or elsewhere. This is a really phenomenal hands-on experience to work on someone's research and help them in their labs. The more common space that our master's students do work in is as teaching assistants, helping us educate undergraduates here on campus and teaching discussion sections or leading labs in our engineering courses. And it's not exclusive to just civil engineering. You'll be eligible to apply to all kinds of courses on campus the second you're admitted into the program. And then at a different level, we have a reader, which is essentially somebody who grades all of the courses. So some of our large lecture-based courses have a lot of grading needs that need to happen. And so in addition to a teaching assistant, we may hire someone separately just to read the homework and grade it. All of these positions come with the department covering your semester's residential tuition, which is those core tuition and fees. And that's a significant benefit while working on campus. So in addition to working and getting this great experience to work with faculty, build your CV if you're interested in academia, this will also financially help folks pretty significantly. So just something to consider as you're mapping out that plan. This is just the first layer of considering it. There's also students will be eligible if you're a US-based citizen to apply for FAFSA, and there's tons of external fellowships and campus-wide fellowships that folks are considered for as well. I'm going to pass it over to my colleague Maribel, who can talk you through the next steps as you're considering admissions. Maribel, it's all yours.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Robbie. As Robbie said, my name is Maribel Castillo. I'm the admissions recruitment specialist. And Robbie, next slide, please. And so I'm here to kind of go over what you need to submit. Starting with the GRE, our program no longer requires or accepts the GRE scores for admissions. We emphasize on a holistic evaluation of applicants, focusing on their potential and qualifications beyond the standardized test scores. Applicants should carefully choose one specific degree program and an area of study. This choice reflects our academic and career interests and helps us evaluate how you fit in our programs. The personal history statement is an opportunity for you to share your unique background, experiences, and perspectives. Discuss how your life experience have shaped your goals and prepared you for our program. Emphasize any experiences, qualities that you can contribute to a diverse and inclusive academic community. The statement of purpose is very important. The statement of purpose is a crucial component of your application. Describe your academic and research interests, long-term goals, and how our program aligns with your objectives. Highlight specific faculty members or research areas that interest you. We require 3 letters or more recommendations that are required. Choose recommenders who can speak to your academic abilities, research potential, and personal qualities. Request the recommendations well in advance, providing recommenders with sufficient information about your academic and career goals. You will to submit unofficial transcripts from all institutions where you have earned college credits. This includes both undergraduate and any graduate coursework, study abroad. Ensure that the transcripts are legible, clearly display your academic history. And to add to that, transcripts should also clearly state your name and the name of the institution. Applicants who receive a degree in a country or region in which the official language is not English, you are required to submit a language proficiency scores. Our program accepts the TOEFL or the IELTS exams to assess English language skills. To ensure that you meet the minimum required scores for admission, for the TOEFL, the minimum is a 90 on the IBT, and for the IELTS is 7. Application fee. If you are a U.S. citizen or current permanent resident, the application fee is $135. For all others, the fee is $155. Fee waiver list can be found on the Berkeley graduate admissions webpage. Applicants from California State Universities, the application fee is covered by the CEE department. Final considerations. Please pay close attention to the application deadlines and requirements and make sure to submit all required documents before stated deadlines. Double check your applications to ensure all components, including the personal history statement, statement of purpose, recommendations, transcripts, language proficiency scores, and are complete and accurate. Seek assistance from academic advisors or our admissions team if you have any questions or need guidance during the application process. Next slide, thank you. The deadline for the MS degree is Monday, December the 11th. The dual degree applicants must apply to both degrees and may have different deadlines for the other half. So please check the program's webpage for their prospective deadline. It is advised not to wait until the last day to submit in case of technical errors. If you are waiting for recommendations or test scores, don't wait. Go ahead and submit your application. Other important deadlines. February 16th, 2024 is CEE's tentative release of admissions decisions. March 15th, 2024 is our CEE's on-campus visit date for admits. April 15th, 2024 acceptance deadline, and May 25th, 2024 deferral request deadlines. Thank you very much. I'm the person who, if you have any concerns and you email the AAO at ce.berkeley.edu, I will be responding to you or directing you to the correct person. Again, thank you, and back to David.
Great, thanks, Maribel. I'm just going to end here by first putting up this table, which shows the names and email contact information for the faculty members who are responsible for admissions in the different programs. So we went through these abbreviations before, but if you need to reacquaint yourself with them, just look earlier in the presentation to see. These faculty members will respond to specific questions you might have about their programs, what kinds of coursework there is, or what kinds of research opportunities there are. But please consider looking at the web pages before asking them a question, because a lot of that information is already up there. If you have general questions about the application or about where to send materials or other types of things, please contact AAO at CE. And as Maribel said, she's the one who probably will be answering that. I want to end here by thanking you all for your attention and for your time this afternoon or whenever you're watching this, and hope we've answered some of the questions. We're really looking forward to having you join us here at Berkeley. We think it's a great fit for anyone who wants to pursue a career in civil and environmental engineering, and we're available to you for any kinds of questions you have during the application process or after the application process. There have been some questions that have come in during the webinar, but we've answered most of them online. So if you did type in a question, look into the section where they're answered, and any that we didn't have a chance to answer already, we're going to try to get back to you before we close the webinar line. Or if you don't hear from us, send your inquiry to AAO at ce.berkeley.edu. Thank you very much for your attention, and have a good rest of your day.